The day has come to where I finally let the truth out about what I know with the Gov. And I was about to connect the dots on the Soviet Union becoming a big trendy meme. And all of a sudden, as I was connecting these said dots, I was suddenly banned off of TikTok Live. I must admit, I'm thoroughly confused here. I can't say I fully understand what happened. Perhaps they were scared? I don't know. Yes, the government pretty much is trying to silence me. And I'm glad I caught that live on camera. I was exposing TikTok, something very hard to do. Now, where was I? How the Soviet Union meme shit rised up at the same time as women's love for communism. I know what you're thinking. There's an extremely high chance that this guy's tweaking. But look, I need you to understand, I know what's going on. They deployed Soviet Union meme propaganda to test the waters. You know what I'm saying? So, as they were testing the waters and seeing how people would react to communism, what they go and do is they make China makes a highly addictive app that almost gets to know you to a T as a person, and I believe has facial recognition in it. So that's a whole other rabbit hole we don't really need to get into. They deployed that and pushed communist propaganda on the TikTok platform, which is why throughout the we'll say late 2010s, I feel like, in the 2020s, there's been a large uprise of genuine communist support. Do I think that necessarily means China wants to own the world? No. They want to own, probably just the North America, and everything else is see ya. I'm not worried about you. But all I'm saying is, it's oddly timed. It's just oddly timed. Here, all CODs come in Xbox Game Pass. Is that a distraction? No, that's an awakening. Now here we go, look. While it's difficult to pinpoint the exact moment Russia communist memes or Soviet memes began, the trend of using the Soviet Union and communism as source material for internet memes seemed to become popular around late 2016. I do believe it was a little bit before that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe TikTok has wiped my memory and tried to alter a little bit, but I'm too mentally strong where I'm fine. It's a strange correlation here, though. So let's see. Okay, ByteDance. ByteDance owns TikTok. Watch. Y'all don't find this suspicious? I do. They established in 2012 by Musically in November 2017, which I'd argue this was almost the peak of communist Russia. Communism in general is better and cool. I think I'm on to something, because I feel like around this time is when I also started seeing more birds. I feel like since COVID, there's been an uprise in birds. I want them to explain to me why that is. They throw their birds over here to spy on us, which honestly that goes back, being spied on goes back to the Airbnbs. When else, when would you say Airbnbs really popped off? During COVID. All of a sudden, disturbing people started lending out their houses to random people to make a quick buck. Those people who did are very strange. I know they own it and rent it out to other people. I just don't trust that. If some random person, had a flyer up, stay in my house for this much, are you just gonna go ahead and trust that? I don't. Those people can just easily have little hidden cameras around the house. Next thing you know, you and your wife having sex in a bed on vacation, having a good time. Ugh, those kids are finally gone. Ugh, fuck them, right? All of a sudden, your little dick and how you like to be stomped on is being sold on the black web. It's being uploaded to off-brand porn sites, that things that aren't, mainstream, the not-so-mainstream websites. Not necessarily like an A-tier website, not necessarily like a baddies only, not one of those, but something creepy and below that. Something like Reddit or random things. One of those random websites where you try to find an OnlyFans model, use that term loosely, and the model is very good at DMCAing her content to where you have to go on a random, porn website. You know what else strongly pushes sex? TikTok, bro. So what TikTok is trying to do, buy up the homes in America, buy up land, because China does. Matter of fact, are y'all ready for this one? China has land in America. Chinese firms and investors own just over 383,934 acres in the U.S. China has land by military bases. Why? That's why I think, America and China are low-key in cahoots. And that's where I was going with this. America traffics its humans to China. Why do you think China has such a density problem? America is trying to avoid that issue. So we have some kind of deal. Oh, fuck. This place has too many people, go to China. Boom, that's what they're using that land for. But you're right. Why does China have land by military bases? I'm not trying to be an Alex Jones type guy here, but I'm just asking the questions. Farmland. Why does China own farmland in America? What does that necessarily do? You know what I mean? You know what? I'm not necessarily saying I'm against Trump or nothing like that, but someone who has a part of that party, RFK, what is one of the main things he really pushes is that there's been a high rise in autism. It can't be because we know more about it and it's easier to diagnose. It's there's low-key a lot of people on the spectrum. It's not that. I believe it actually has something to do with China owning this much of the agricultural land since 2021. That's concerning. I believe I'm onto something here. Trump and China are in cahoots. And they made the food do something strange to where more people are autistic. It's just an odd correlation. I feel like over the past 4, almost 5 years since they bought this land, that there has been a large uptick in autism. My girlfriend works at a daycare, and a lot of the stories I hear are about severely autistic children. And I look back as a kid, and I think I don't really remember anyone acting autistic until 8th grade, which just happened to be 2021. I knew autistic people. I knew a normal about, I have some family that, maybe they dip their toe in the water on the spectrum. Maybe some of them are. Fully on there. But nobody wants to admit it, and we all act like they're just a little unique. A little special. The autistic kids are the funniest kids. Not anymore. They used to be funny. But what my girlfriend tells me about is a lot of these kids have a large uptick in violence. It's an insane coincidence. And also, just thought of this one. What is one of the stereotypes of Chinese people? They are very smart. They are very good at math. Are we not sure that stereotype just comes from undiagnosed autism from the Chinese food? Even the fact that I think there might be autistic Whoa. They eat cats and dogs, grow up. There's a lot more America-made things, right? America had a lot of factories. It was a well-paying job for people, immigrants, this, that, and the other. Now, here's the odd thing, as you see here. This is a crazy connection. The AI overview says the mid to late 1970s is when we really started to get close from that. And you see how this says around 72? I would argue it's probably a little later. 72 is too much of a boring year to do something. You know what I mean? 1972, I don't believe that. I think a more believable year is 1974, 1975, something around that. That's when, if you stay with me, the mid-70s, people who were born in this time is when autism really became a thing. And that's when we really started to have good relations with them. In the 70s, when they started sending clothes and shit here, all of a sudden, a lot of people have autism way down the line. We just know how to diagnose it at first. I mean, it used to be autism was, that boy ain't bright, we gotta send him to military school. maybe before that. This bitch needs a fucking lobotomy. She's insane. Now we know that might have probably just been autism. But the uptick of autistic people were the ones born from, like 80s and 90s, and further on. So with that being said, I do believe that China is making us autistic. You can't tell me I'm not cooking. You can't tell me I'm wrong. It was the birth control in the 50s? Whoa. In 1960, what country makes the most? China. China is the largest producer of birth control. Holy shit. Yo. So, China... Oh, I'm really feeling this thing now. China is in control of the clothes we wear. They put the dye in it. That's why I don't even think white shirts. That's why I only wear white shirts. Even if it is dyed, it's not much. They control the dye in our clothing, which is really important. I feel like dye is pretty. Think about like the food dye, the red 40. That's all of that is weird. So look, the dye in our clothes, the clothing we wear, they have farmland here in America, and they also made birth control. So instead of just, they want us to overpopulate and turn against each other. Because think about it, they're the ones making birth control. Before birth control, you probably just tried to pull the baby out yourself. Or like a coat hanger or like a golf club, stick it in there, something like that. But China came in and said, no, you can busted someone and we're fine. Because look, she's on the pill. That strongly affects your body. I mean, the things birth control does to the woman body, I'm not even trying to be funny here, is very concerning. And I feel like that's a rabbit hole in itself. Maybe that's when we were trying to figure out how to do mind control. So that's when they were like, that's why women act like that on birth control. That's why it affects their bodies in such, odd ways. I don't feel like it should. China is making us autistic. And that's part of the reason they push TikTok to little kids. So if they're not already autistic, their attention is fried. We control how they speak, what they listen to, what they watch, how they act, what they wear, what they think. We know we TikTok knows the users to a T if you're on there enough. TikTok knows to recommend LeBron James highlights to me. They know I want to see Tun Sahar. They know I want to see 6-7 mustard mango memes. A TikTok employee, like, you can look at someone's TikTok and know them to a T. You know what I'm saying? If you look at like someone's repost on TikTok, you pretty much know them. You know how they act. You know what they think. You know some of the habits they do. You know they're like secretly an alcoholic, but they disguise it as just like having a fun time. Or maybe that's how you find out like your little cousin's doing coke. I don't know. I've never had that happen, but it could. The Chinese government is trying to get to know us well now to keep spreading autism, brain rot, and communist ideology. Even though a lot of the communist memes are Russia, I feel like China still had a hand in that. Maybe it's just me, but that's a little weird.